Restaurant Unstoppable. Inspire, empower, and transform the industry.
Now it does. I mean, the restaurant's growing really fast too, and they're about to launch a packaged foods line also. But the products company is growing really fast.
Okay, so what is it that you guys take us through? Because and this is how one of your other businesses started, is you guys got really good at merchandise, and then you started a whole business around teaching other people how to do it. So take us through that journey of getting good at merchandise.
Yeah, so I think, so there's a lot of pressure in kind of the swag and merchandise space to hit budgets with it. And so that's really what we came into with the business. And so when we bought it, we focused on turn times, efficiency, low error rate, throughput in the sales department, and stuff that was like nuts and bolts grinding every day.
Yeah.
Over time, what we realized is most people are using promotional products completely wrong, right? So if you're worried about cost and budget for promotional products, it's honestly the last thing. It's not unimportant, but it is the last hurdle to clear. So really, people think about, I think a lot of people think they're going to do a merch program, and they get in and they launch. They say, everybody's going to buy this stuff. Let's get an online store and let's throw merch on it. And then it's like, wah, wah. They just end up with a bunch of merchandise that nobody buys.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, I don't know. It worked at the AC/DC concert. And you're like, yeah, dude, everybody wants to be associated with AC/DC. Yeah. And you have a core, there's enough like brand champions for AC/DC to buy that merch, right? Yeah. And by the way, they just got through putting on a show where people connected with them. You bought it. You as a brand have to create merch that people are going to connect with, and it's going to be native in their minds to your brand. And so I think people miss on is developing a program. Merch is part of your ad spend. Merch is not a revenue center. It can become a revenue center once you become successful with it, and once your brand becomes strong enough that outsiders want to come into your brand because of what they see. To just hit that out of the is like walking onto Wrigley Field in the World Series and just smashing a home run or a grand slam your first time at bat from playing Little League Baseball. It just doesn't. It's almost impossible to happen that way.
So the way I look at merchandise and the people that buy merchandise, and when merchandise works well, I've noticed that the brand is usually a lifestyle type of brand that people want to be associated with because of what that brand says about them. Right. So if you're
because the brand position.
Exactly. Because I think a company that does this really well is Laney and Lou in Exeter, New Hampshire. So what they do really well is they develop this brand that says we are about adventure, wellness, taking care of yourself, all these things that are really important right now with a big chunk of our demographic, right? Everybody wants to be associated with wellness, adventures, anything that's Instagrammable, right? Like that world is just, you know where I'm going with this, right?
Yeah.
So they've done so good at making their brand identify with all these things that if you're wearing a Laney and Lou T-shirt, people will look at you and go, "That must be an adventurous, healthy, outgoing, fun person," right?
Right.
And I think that's what the trick is how do you associate your brand with something that people want to identify with, so they can. It's all it's psychographics. Do you agree or disagree with that?
Well, so it sounds like in that case they have brand voice already, right?
Yeah.
And so people want to buy the merch because it connects them to that brand. So I think where I see people struggle is when they're trying to use merch to grow their brand voice.
Okay.
And it's almost like
the
chicken before the egg, right?
The cart ahead of the horse.
And then you see people I'll give you an example of a bank I work with, and this bank is a fantastic bank. I won't say it's I don't know, it may or may not be the best, but it is amazing. They're really good at everything. Their service, the way they treat people, just everything is great. I got a fake Yeti cup from them. The paint was falling off of it. And I'm thinking that is so
bad for the brand.
That is so inconsistent with what your brand is. So if your core business, you can use branded products to grow your business, to grow your core business. And you may end up with Laney and Lane or what's happened with El Arroyo where the branded products run away. But the most important thing is to use them in a way that supports the core business. And that's why it's part of ad spend, not a revenue center.
Okay.
And you say, so what we tell people is, look, let's create a budget for you out of your ad spend, whether it's $2,500 a month, $5,000 a month, $1,000 a month, whatever it's going to be. And let's find products that reflect what your brand truly is, both the standard, the uniqueness, the color palette, the quality, and let's put a program together where you buy this much of these products every month, right? And we're gonna order them on time. We're gonna have it scheduled out for a few months, and so we're gonna release the order at the beginning of the month for the next month, and it's just gonna be on a cycle, right? And then we'll work you into finding that hat that speaks to your voice, with the logo positioned that way, with the colorways, and it's a programming thing. It's like building any other part of your business.
Yeah.
And then it turns into something profitable a lot of the time.
Okay. So I think the big takeaways I'm getting from you is, first, be a brand that's worth somebody wanting to be associated with, right? So put your energy into becoming a brand that people want to tie themselves to. And then don't look at the other big lesson is, don't look at this as being a revenue center out of the gates. It's an expense out of the gates. It's an ad spend, and it's a promotional thing, and that's how you have to look at it. Those are the big two takeaways.
Yeah, and then it develops into a real business sometimes.
Yeah. So what do you think? Because you've seen enough of these companies, because you've helped these companies. And it's one of the other companies you built is you help people basically execute their merchandise. What would you call it?
Yeah, they're branded products programs.
Yeah,
and so we do it for ourselves with El Arroyo and our other businesses, and we help other people.
So the other people that you've seen have a lot of success with your approach. What is it? What's the common thread that these brands have that enable them to have success with your approach?
They buy quality products that reflect positively on their brand, so that people use them all the time and are proud to use them.
Okay.
Right, and so they'll spend the money, and it's not about. It doesn't mean that it's always. I mean, you got to spend the right amount of money. It doesn't mean spend the most money, and it means spend the right amount of money to get the right product that fits the brand voice.
Right.
So if the brand voice is a discounter, then you're probably going to spend less, right? If it's a super high end brand, or you might spend more, right? It's something that fits.
So at what point were you like, there's an opportunity here for us to teach people how to do this?
Well, so our promotional products company, Aztec, has traditionally been like a distributor. And as we've found more and more success with El Arroyo, we've focused we love doing that. We like helping people grow their brand. So we've decided to spend more and more of our energy with our branded products company, taking on relationships where we can help people that are genuinely interested in doing that, do it, right? Because it's fun.
Yeah.
And it's rewarding.
And I think you've developed skills here, and I think that's one thing. If you can be of value to somebody, if you went through something that was hard and you didn't have answers, odds are somebody else is going through the same exact thing, and if you can be of value to those people, that's an opportunity, right? And I think you're good at figuring things out, and then figuring out things that are hard to figure out and helping other people figure them out. Is that how you decide whether or not to build a company?
Yeah, I mean, and a lot of times it's just trial and error and stuff, and you learn and through cross-pollinating the industry. So like in the software business, one of the number one things is called product market fit, right? And it's like getting your product market fit right and then going to market, which a lot of people don't do. They just like raise money and go sell as fast as they can and see what happens, and it ends up pissing customers off, and sometimes it works, and most of the time it doesn't.
I'm making a note because I want to get into that, because that's the one thing we really haven't unpackaged a lot yet, is the Axial, which is your services and software SaaS company. Yeah. But we're definitely going to get into that.
But the product market fit, it is important for branding too. It's what you got to think about. It's like finding the right product that fits your brand, right? So it's product market fit, right? How does your product and your market fit together with these branded products? How's your branded product going to tie that together?
Yeah, during our break, we were talking a lot because we actually ended up moving around. So you have a booth for one of your companies, Axial, correct?
Yes.
For the software we're going to talk about. We were talking, the conversation was kind of continued to go as we're like moving things around. I was like, just save this for the interview because this is good stuff. But I do want to touch on, because you had a few other brands that we haven't touched on, because up to this point, you've never closed a restaurant. You've only opened, or not opened, but took over restaurants. Mm-hmm. So you're a specialist at being someone's exit strategy. So I think we got a lot of great advice out of that. You also have Chickadee, Abel's North that closed, and so Chickadee and in Abel's North and Hills Cafe. So that's 3 additional restaurants from 2013 to 2018 that you either took over or opened yourself or closed. What were the situations?
Chickadee was an apparel company. It made collegiate branded women's apparel, and that was a client of Aztec.
Okay.
And then we ended up.
Aztec is your brand company.
Our branded products company. Yeah. And so we took
a lot of moving parts here.
Yeah. So we took a position in Chickadee restructured some things, principally around financing and inventory control and stuff like that, and then we ended up selling the company actually back.
Okay.